Up our enclosure 1. So all I've gone ahead and done is I've duplicated it and renamed it press fit, just to have a fresh example for y'all. I turned off enclosure cap, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to hop into the enclosure guide and edit a couple things. So we're creating essentially a way for this thing to snap together with Legos instead of glue. And in order to do that, we have to get a little bit more real estate for our walls here. And I'm going to change this outer wall dimension from 2 millimeters away from our PCB to 5. If I hit that and hit enter, you'll notice it changes it everything around here. In order to make it so that this is actually giving us enough space, and it looks like there's a fire truck going by, so that we can actually plug the port into our computer and it'll fit and actually work, this dimension here needs to actually be, instead of 4, 2 millimeters. Now if I type this in, it's going to yell at us. What we should be able to do is if we tell it, hey, this is over constrained, we can take a look here, boom, 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 and we can find the constraint that is guiding that dimension and actually delete it. So I just did show constraints. You can see here when I mouse over this one, it's the constraint for those 2 horizontal lines. If I click on this and I hit delete, it allows us to edit that constraint, and boom, we have a functional thicker walled case on each side except for that front side where the port is. Now, once we've done this, we need to do a couple more things. So if I hit check and I take a look at our design, it looks pretty decent. And if I turn on enclosure cap, that's matching up with the design we have. Now, what I should be able to do now, if I just double check everything from the top view, is create a new sketch on this top surface right here. We need to make some holes for our pegs to insert into for our press fit. Now, in order to do this, I'm just going to create a point in space up here. Once I have that point, what we can do is we can zoom in and we can dimension from our wall to that point there. So we get a horizontal, and from our point to this wall here, and we get a vertical dimension. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I am going to make a point that's like maybe 2.5 millimeters in. Let's do 2. And then here I'm also going to do 2. Once we have these 2 points, then we can create a series of construction lines. Now our first construction line is going to be a vertical construction line, and I'm just going to snap it in right there. And if I hit escape, LQ, our second one is going to be right here. What you'll notice is I'm using the midpoints of the vertical and horizontal to guide these construction lines. And now we have some construction lines that we can mirror from. So if I select my mirror line, boom, we have a point there. And we can also create a set of points down here. We don't actually need to create a set of points because really all we need to do is make some circles in each area. If I create a circle here, I can click a circle in space. I'm going to make this circle right here to 3.25 maybe, and that's going to be like a little too big probably. So if I click this and I edit our dimension here, 3.25, hit enter, I'm just a little bit too big and there's not enough space right here and right here. So if we change this dimension, I don't know, let's say 2.5. That's a little bit too far in there. Let's do 2.25. That seems decent. And 2.25 here as well. We hit the check. We now have just a circle in that corner. We actually want one in each corner. And in order to make that happen, we can just use mirror, select the line, select the thing we want to mirror, and then again, mirror, select the line, select both things that we want to mirror, and it looks like we're still a little bit too close right there. So our way of fixing that is we can go ahead and change this dimension right here to 2. Now, we may be just a little bit too big to print. There's a chance that some walls may not show up, but hopefully it will print. If things don't show up on the printer, we can always change this dimension from 3.25 to 3, and it'll make things a little bit smaller, and it increases the width from there to there. I'm going to go ahead and make it 3. Why not? Let's just keep it there. And if we hit check, we have these lines right here. We can go ahead and we can extrude remove these circles from our bottom case. So if we do extrude remove, we can extrude remove these circles to a depth of, let's say, 2.5, and why not? And then that gives us a solid cavity or void into our case. If we hit check, we have some holes there. Looks good. And what I'm gonna do next is just rename some stuff. So if we rename this sketch, we can call it hole guide. If we need to rename this sketch right here, we can rename it hole. And our next thing that we want to do is actually go ahead and create a new sketch on this surface again. And I'm going to use offset to offset each one of these circles. Actually, I may have to do it one at a time. If I offset this circle, I can tell it that it needs to be an inner offset. And if we zoom in here, hopefully, once I get it inside enough, we can tell it that it needs to be a 0.5 offset. So 0.5 should be enough to make it so that our eventual pegs can fit right on in there. So I just click there, hit enter, let's do -0.5, click there, hit enter, -0.5, click there, hit enter, -0.5, and boom, we have our peg holes. And what we can go ahead and do is we can just say peg guide, and we can hit extrude, and we actually want to do a depth of let's say 1.5. We're going to flip the direction, and we want to make this an extrude add and add them to our cap of our enclosure. Now, the final thing we want to do is just check, make sure things look good. I'm going to edit the appearance of our case enclosure so that the alpha channel is changed so that we can kind of see through it, and I'm going to turn on our cap. Now, that's a ton of space right there for those pins. We're going to increase the actual extrude, and why not make it 2? That looks good to me. And now what we can actually do, if we double check this, that's added to that. We can go ahead and do our self-check if we need to do an additional self-check. If you already did the self-check for enclosure 1, you should be good to go with going with press fit. I will make sure when we look at your document that your pins are there. You only have 2 case parts. You don't need more than 2 or it won't work. And that's how you go ahead and do press fit. In my next video, I'll show you how to create a case that includes holes for screw or threaded inserts for screws, so you can actually screw this case together. All right, I'll see you soon. Later.